Metal Gear Solid Survivor, so I decided to play this game. And since I already beat it, I don't think I ever uploaded a video yet. This is the commentary version of it. Let's go through it, some of it today, and just see what it says. I already did this one, but I will do it again if it works, before you guys can hear it. And they said some pretty interesting things about this game that I did not know about. That actually, like, I saw it, I was like, oh, that makes sense. It kind of does look like it. And let's actually do it if it works.
Hello everyone, I'm Dan Pinchbeck, I'm the creative director of the Chinese Room, and this is the Dear Esther developers commentary.
Yes, the Dear Esther commentary.
Hi, I'm Robert Briscoe, I'm the artist on Dear Esther.
And I'm Jessica Curry, and I was the composer on the game.
So what you're looking at today is a remake of a mod. Dear Esther started off in 2007 as a Half-Life 2 mod that did really, really well in the modding community, which was fantastic, and as a result of that attracted the attention of Rob, who worked as the primary developer on a Source remake of the game that was released in 2012. And this year is another remake where it's been updated for a cross-platform release, and we wanted to add in this developer's commentary just to give you a bit more of an insight into some of the ideas behind the game as it came together.
So yeah, the point of being like, wow, this was a Half-Life 2 mod. I was like, now I can first impression, like, yeah, that kind of does look like a something that we can have to do almost. So I think we want to jump or something. I wish they talk about why they didn't add a jump button. I guess all these reasons, but. Oh, see, that one's... And they're not numbered. I wish they were numbered, so you can see white means I already did it. And stuff.
So you'll see around you in a lot of the environments, there's a lot of detail ingrained into everything. One of the things that I wanted to do with Dear Esther is bring the visuals up to the same kind of level of detail that Dan and Jess had put into the other areas of the game. So all of the history and the kind of hidden pieces of story that are intertwined with the VOs and the music and stuff, I kind of wanted to bring some of that into the environments. So if you look around you, you see that there's a lot of interesting bits and pieces, a piece of paper with someone's name on it, a photograph, an ultrasound. All of these little bits and pieces, I kind of layered in to just kind of bring another aspect of the story into the game. And also, they're actually randomized, so every time you play, you'll see something different lying around. And this is just to build on this idea that everybody has a unique experience and a unique interpretation of the story.
That's interesting. Ultrasound? Because he said ultrasound, and now I'm trying to figure out what does he mean by that.
So you'll see around you in a lot of the environments, there's a lot of detail ingrained into everything.
Shit.
One of the things that I wanted to do with Dear Esther is bring the visuals up to the same kind of level of detail that Dan and Jess had put into the other areas of the game. So
I wish there was
all of the history and the kind of hidden pieces of story that are intertwined with the VOs and the music and stuff, I kind of wanted to bring some of that into the environments. So if you look around you, you see that there's a lot of interesting bits and pieces, a piece of paper with someone's name on it, a photograph, an ultrasound. All of these little bits and pieces are kind of layered in to just kind of bring another aspect of the story into the game. And also, they're actually randomized, so every time you play, you'll see something different lying around. And this is just to build on this idea that everybody has a unique experience and a unique interpretation of the story.
He's talking. Okay, now I'll talk. It's strange for them to do I wish there was a run button on this, since I'm not playing the rogue game, I'm playing the commentary version of it, so they should have added... Well, that's right, because this is the dead end. that who actually played this for a second time? I don't understand like what the achievements are in this game. If this game does have achievements, I don't know. But yeah, I just don't understand why anybody would play this twice. Because I don't think there's a hard difficulty or easy difficulty, I don't think. But yeah.
Part of the point about the whole game, I think, was this idea that rather than having a linear, straight-through version of the story, that we could have multiple story units for each place you were. And I was really interested in this idea of how you can open up that space that people can interpret. So I loved the idea that you could have two people that had played this game and then would have a conversation about it, and one of them would say, oh, what did you think about when this happened? And the other person would be like, well, that didn't happen for me. I had a completely different event happen or a completely different story happen. And it kind of feels very gamey in that way, that actually one of the things I love about writing for games is that you hand over so much control to the player that it becomes their story, and that's really, really important rather than trying to force them. So using randomised blocks of voiceover in the game and the kind of randomised prop details that Rob was talking about means that it gives it a really different feeling every time you go through. And that's kind of interesting for me, because I like the idea of going, well, not everyone has to have the same experience, and because it's interactive, you have the capacity to have very different experiences occupying the same space. So yeah, but balancing all that then becomes an absolute nightmare.
I think it's nice though, because everybody gets a personal experience. Like, I love reading the forums and seeing how people come and they sort of tell their story and what they interpreted of it, and then you see other people discussing what they thought of it. And to me, it's kind of nice because everybody takes something unique away from it.
That's so strange. Oh, interesting, I need to say, I think. Like, how big of the randomizer can it be? Like, the ending I got, is there different endings? Like, so pretty much the ending I got was him jumping off. He was like, kind of to his death, but before he hit the ground, he like turned into like a bird or something and he started flying. So like, is there other endings where he doesn't kill himself or turn into a bird?
When I wrote the music for the mod of Dear Esther, there was absolutely no budget whatsoever for live players, so all the music was sampled. But one of the good things about that is it actually forced me to be quite creative about how I wrote the music. So with my background in sound art, I wanted to use samples in a different way that wasn't just using it to sound like a violin. I wanted to time stretch and manipulate samples to make something different and strange and quite unique. But then when we got the Indie Fund money, I had the amazing opportunity to re-record the music with live players. And that was so exciting for me, actually, because that's where it comes to life. And I thought long and hard about whether to write new music, going from the mod commercial version, but actually I decided that my initial and original emotional response to the game was probably going to be the strongest response and reaction that I had. So I just literally, the music that I'd written for samples, I then wrote out for live instruments. But what they bring to it is transformative, actually. And I think The Beach is a really good example of this, where you have these awful samples soaring away, and then you have the string quartet playing this very bleak, very sparse music, and they bring the presence of the island immediately to it, and it comes to life. And that's the exciting thing about it. It wasn't a huge budget, but just having that experience of working with the players was just magical.
Get $0 or something, and they just had to they had like $0 or something. And I guess they had it because at the time, like they said, like there was just a mod for Half-Life, but then when they actually was able to make that full game of it, I guess they able to have money to use live players, I guess. I guess would you mean like a live band or something to play, I guess, or something? I don't really understand what you mean by that. So far as not, they're not really talking about a lot of the things I thought they would talk about. So hopefully at some point they will get into it more deeply, more stuff like that. Was also what else I was gonna say? I was gonna say something else earlier. I don't remember what it was. I don't know. Maybe they mention it later again.
Everything about Esther for me is a dream. The landscape is not an island, it's the dream of an island. The music is like music that you wake up because you've heard in your sleep, but you're not conscious of hearing it. And the language in the story was supposed to be like that as well. It didn't matter the sense it made, it was more about the kind of the shapes it created, if that makes sense. So the words would kind of were like being in water, like listening to something underwater. It'd be this very dreamlike, symbolic, poetic thing. And it always had frustrated me in games with game writing. This has really changed quite a lot. There was never any space for poetic language. It was very exposition-y, very descriptive, very direct. And you'd have like art and audio would have these amazing creative spaces they could explore. But when it came down to actually writing, you just had to basically go into the room, describe the character, tell the player what to do. And it just seemed like the most boring thing you could do with words in a game. And why couldn't a writer have the same artistic freedom as a visual artist or an audio designer or a musician, in terms of being able to say, isn't this just about creating this kind of emotional tone, this emotional space? And it's really, I still love that about the game, and it's one of the things I love so much about Nigel's voiceover, is it has this really odd, disconnected, kind of dreamlike quality to it, where you might finish the game and not actually understand anything that happened, but you're being carried along in the flow of it. And without any kind of sarcasm at all, I get into trouble saying things like this. The same design principle applies as this to Halo. It's 30 seconds of fun, or 30 seconds of depressing engagement, I guess, in our case. But it is about that loop of being in the moment in the game constantly, and that's actually the critical thing that matters.
Dropping fucking Halo. So yeah, what I was gonna say was, my TV was muted. Probably hearing the headphones better. So hopefully the first like 2 or 3 things you actually was able to hear it. When I upload it, if anybody listens to this, I guess my, God, what's my reaction? Oh God, I hate that. Of everything, but oh God, I hate that reaction. Of the game and stuff, but yeah, let's continue.
So people have asked why the Dear Esther's set on a Hebridean island. What's really interesting about this is one of those times when your kind of aspirations as an artist and the practical realities kind of dovetail. We knew that we had to have some way of limiting the player from disappearing off the play space, and when we made the original, it was a mod, and because it was a Half-Life 2 mod, you kind of had Eastern European city, spaceship, or blasted, desolate landscape, where you had 3 options if you didn't want to start making any other assets. So it started off with these practical constraints. We don't want to set it on a spaceship, we don't want to set it in an Eastern European city, so it's got to be on this kind of like this desolate landscape. And we want to limit the player, so an island seems like a natural choice. And it's really interesting how you start from that, and we had this big lump of clay on a table that we were carving out paths and things to annoying the cleaners and things like that. And Jess and I were talking, and Jess started making sort of snippets of music to kind of go in there. And then all of a sudden we just went, oh, that's the story. Oh, that's what happened here. But it really started, I think, from the place. And when we started looking at photographs of Bore, we started going and reading some of the history behind it. Suddenly that was it. And it just was really, really naturally became, this is the place, this is what happened here, this is how it feels. And then everything else kind of coalesced around that.
Yeah, I think as an artist it made my job a lot easier, because those islands are so kind of like, the environment is kind of hostile. You're out there in the Hebrides. You've got this kind of like inclement weather. You've got cold, rain, snow. It's a very kind of it can be a very depressing place to be at times, but it's also at the same time very beautiful, and it's this kind of like stark, bare landscape that has this beautiful surroundings. So it's, in terms of art, I think it really helped me to portray a lot of the themes in Dear Esther.
And there was a natural fit with the music as well. It suggested a musical style, which was really key, I think.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought they had more. So yeah, some things I kind of like one. I want to talk about how, much quickly, how one of the reasons why I went back to the orange box at one point is because I heard Gabe Newell talks in it at certain parts, but I did it most of it, I think, of because episode 1 didn't have commentary, but I think episode 2 did. So he talks in the beginning, but I think that's the only time he shows up. It was kind of lame. So I heard all these people I don't know talk and stuff, and now I'm hearing people I have no clue who they are, and I don't really know them. So I wish it was I knew one of these people, it'd be interesting to hear them talk and stuff. But since if Borderlands had more Borderlands, god damn it, I'm gonna say Half-Life. If Half-Life had more of Gabe Newell talking, I think it would have been interesting to hear him talk about stuff of his passion and stuff. But then he talks once for 30 seconds, I think it was, and that was it, the whole thing. And then I think I did half of it, I think, or maybe I did the full thing. I don't really remember. I don't know if I even have the orange box downloaded still. I think I eventually deleted it because I got bored of it because he wasn't there most of the time. It's that one time thing, so they're still not talking about things I don't really care about a whole lot. It's interesting to see or hear what they had to go through, but it's more of why they go jumping, why is the flashlight turned on and off, the whole it looks like it's flat grass, but it might be not polygons or whatever it's called.
One of the things you're always trying to do as a composer is create memorable themes. And a slight confession is that probably the most memorable theme, which is Remember in Dear Esther, wasn't actually created for the game. Rob's looking shocked. So it was actually from a piece of choral music that I'd written years before, based on a Christina Rossetti poem called Remember. And one of the things I was talking about earlier was how I didn't have any budget. So I had this piece of choral music, and I thought, hang on, this is absolutely perfect for Esther. But I don't want to use all of it. So the only bit that you actually get in the game is the first line of the choral piece of music. But that actually went on to form the main theme of the music that I wrote. And I think for me it's really interesting about how things that you've written earlier, years before, sometimes come in really, really useful and fit. So I always tell people and students not to despair if something doesn't get used or doesn't work at the time, because actually there'll come a place or in a time where you think, hang on a minute, I've got something that fits. So in terms of that memorable theme, the Remember theme gets used in multitude of different ways during the game. And one of the things it does is helps you to identify the kind of psychic place that you're in the game. So the theme is played in lots of different ways, and actually you'll notice that as you go through the game, it becomes more and more broken and more manipulated and broken down as the player goes through the journey and as you're psychologically struggling to get to the end point in the game. So music's really, really useful for highlighting the psychological mood, and we talk a lot about psychogeography, which sounds a bit pretentious, but actually I think it's really important what the three of us did in the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dan, maybe you want to talk a bit
the
about
core
that.
idea about psychogeography, if you're not in the place you're in, is not the place you're in, or you create the place you're in. It's not just as you're here and then the landscape's out there, but you don't navigate like a city by street signs and by those kind of formal things. You navigate it by the things which are significant to you in the way that you've lived in that space. And I think that was really kind of key to. I think it's really central to how the fusion of art and story and music come together in Dear Esther, because it's not a place where we're going, right, we have to lead the player up here because it's a natural formation, and then you would naturally have a piece of music here because you come around a corner. But the story, music and art all work around the idea of what's going on in the narrator's head at this point. How do we represent his emotional state relative to this landscape? And again, it's that idea of the game is, it's a dream of a place. It's like the idea of it being a fever dream or a coma dream, which obviously ties in a lot with the kind of story, and we'll come back to in a lot more detail when we get to the caves a bit later on.
There was a lot of talking. I wish these things was shorter so I can talk about things I want to talk about, or a pause. I wish there was a pause button. I guess I can just do that maybe. But I don't know. I might cut off the whole thing. I wish there was just a play and pause button on this thing. Would be great. But she said the part where like the music gets weirder and like it changes and it breaks up in parts. I like that. That was nice and stuff. That where I was slowly playing it and the music was kind of changing and like breaking apart and stuff like that. That was one of the things I liked about the game. Was since there wasn't a whole lot to do except just look around a lot, the music actually helped a lot in this game.
White Lines.
Yeah.
They actually did this. It was really cool. I found this historical document. They used to do this on Bora and the Hebrides. If their disease broke out,
Really?
they'd actually chip out and expose the chalk. So if you're on a boat and you were coming to the island, you know not to land because it was infectious, which is the coolest, most amazing. It's one of those things where you go, it's almost impossible as a writer to come up with something as cool as that. It just has to be something that was actually done. And it's so sad as well. And I love this bit and the fact that we can do it because it feels really real because it references a real thing. And I know there's something really special about that, but it was always one of those bits in the game that I thought, we've got to be able to represent this somehow. We have to be able to get these things in here.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. I actually didn't know that was actually based historically in real life, but that's really cool. Because I my thing about the White Lines is that it was this completely surreal thing, but also it was kind of it just added to the landscape. It's like, whoa, what the hell is that? And putting that into the game was kind of challenging because to me it just seemed like, oh, it's going to be really hard to pull off. In a way that's kind of realistic, but then when you look at the kind of art style of the game, it's not really a realistic thing. Like everything is half imagined. So in that way, it kind of really fit into the landscape, and it kind of creates this amazing sort of landmark that you see in the environment. And I just found it really interesting to hear about that. Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where it's not a realistic place. And I mean, no game is a realistic place anyway, but one of those things where understanding that you're making something which isn't real and you have that kind of capacity to be to explore it artistically. And we'll come back and talk about sort of like it not being realistic, I think, in a little while. But that's really, really important because then you can say it's about what these things kind of represent or how they make you feel as a player, not about going, is this accurate? And I get really inspired by sort of doing a lot of research into kind of history and things like that with all of our games. Because you can just find those things that just kind of like speak to you. But it's amazing you can find that in like an 18th century book and go, that really speaks to me now, that has meaning now, and that's fascinating, I think.
So to go back to Half-Life, I wish at some point they will control the character at some point and do things, because Half-Life did that like once or twice and that was pretty cool, so I wish they would do something like that. But of course it's such a big different things that I imagine since they didn't talk about it, probably won't be doing something like that, but I'm pretty much looking for a book and stuff on the ground to see if it's here. It might be over there somewhere. And there's actually a person. I actually saw a person at one point when I was playing the game, like a shadow person or something. More over here or over there somewhere. So hopefully I can see you guys. I still can't remember if I uploaded the videos or not, or if it's still on my Xbox. It might be on my Xbox still, so hopefully I can upload them at some point and show you the... There's a weird figure, I'm pretty sure. It looked like it was a person or something, but when I got closer, it kind of like disappeared or something. I can't really remember what they even talked about. It's more like stuff, but yeah, 'cause this was more like trees and grass and rocks and all that stuff. Yeah. But I didn't understand what they mean by white lines. I didn't see much white lines. Maybe they mean that, maybe, but that's pretty big. If that's what they're talking about, because I don't think you go that way. So I guess maybe that's what they're talking about. That those white lines, but that would have taken them forever cut to cut that mountain up, just to say it's poison or something, or deadly to go on shore. But like, I don't remember in the game seeing just chalk lines. I remember seeing blue paint and stuff, so maybe the blue paint is what they're talking about, but I don't remember seeing chalk lines anywhere through the game and stuff.
Something that I wanted to bring through in the art of the game was the same kind of fidelity that you find in both Jessica's music and Dan's writing. In the same kind of way that you have all of these little details, these very close attentions to detail that kind of really bring richness to the story. And something that was missing in the original mod version was just this lack of a visual layer of story. And something that I did throughout the art of the game is to add in all these little details here and there, little bits of story, little links to certain things that you may or may not hear or see, just a layer of richness in the world, and give you some kind of reward for exploring. So keep your eye out as you look around.
Okay, that was interesting, but is that supposed to be like a newspaper or something? I don't know. I don't think I have much to say about that one. I wasn't really paying attention much. Sorry about that. But yeah, I don't know. Nothing really caught my ear about. I guess they mean like the flowers, the red flowers, the purple flowers, the pink flowers. Now the flowers are going to the rocks and stuff. And the giant boulders or whatever, pyramid type things. Oh. No, that's just a rock. Never mind. I thought that was him.
There's a scene in Donnie Darko where Drew Barrymore's playing his English teacher, and she talks about Celador as being the most beautiful word in the English language, and that's the sound of the word together. And Dear Esther actually comes from the introduction to From a Faith No More song, the Crab song on the first album, Introduce Yourself. And there's a point where, I think it's Chuck at that point is the vocalist before Mike Pan, just says Dear Esther. And it really lodged with me because the sound Dear Esther just has a really amazing sound to it. And I think when we started making it, and the idea of it being these series of letters to someone came through, it just came straight back out of going, that's just a really beautiful sounding combination of words. And I think that really sums up the whole approach to the writing in Dear Esther of what's the most beautiful combination of words and images we can put together, and to do it that way rather than writing a traditional plot as such. So yeah, Dear Esther, Faith No More and Doom, that's where it comes from.
Yeah, I think this is the right way to go, so I'm gonna go back this way and make sure to get all of them on this everything. And I want you guys to be able to hear it too, because I don't know. There's probably a lot of people, a lot more professional people have done this. So I guess check them out. I guess but at the same time, if no one else has done this except me so far, then I guess because it's my stuff. As I am, talking about what they talk about sometimes, and trying to understand it. It's over there. Okay, so bring us some water. I really wish there was a run button. Like, why is that not a feature in the fucking commentary one? Is a run feature. I didn't know you can go in the water right there. I thought you gotta be in this path. So I gotta remember to try to go in the water to pick up that thing. But the water looks really good for... I imagine this can't be the same water they used in the mod. I imagine since they gotta make everything look better, I guess they probably used their own water, probably. That's my guess. So I won't hit that one. I'm gonna go back into all the way to over there. That's at least 2 or 3 of them. I think this is a place with the book. I'm not too sure if the book is going to be talked about. But I think it was around here somewhere. Around here, I think. Of course, they said items change. Oh my god, wait. Is that a way or is that a dead end? Oh my god, I hope that's a dead end. Is there 2 ways? Man, maybe there is 2 ways. So let's go over here, guys. Oh boy. Oh.
Come back.
So apparently that was what? That's not the right way. I was hoping maybe they talk about that. How do I get that then? Oh, shit, did it again.
Come back.
Oh, that's right. The way it went was the right way. Now this is the... Oh crap, yeah, because that's a dead end. I thought that's the right... That's another side way to go, but it... No, that's actually a dead end, I think. So I might have to walk all the way back. God damn it, if they put signs like, hey, this way is a dead end. Go this way first. That'd be great. But then, there's no fucking one button. It's just everything zoom. I wonder if they would talk about any of the random dead ends that has like weirdly like suitcases and like boats, canned food and stuff. I wonder if they talk about any of that stuff. Oh shit. Is this the same place? I try not to hit that. I'm not sure if this is the same place or is this part 2. Oh shit. Oh fuck. Yeah, this is part 2. Can I actually go backwards? So is the cave a dead end then? The cave must be a dead end. Crap. So I just want to see if I can actually go backwards. Because I don't think I never really tried to go backwards. The piano and stuff is nice. I might need to save and quit. Just quit, I guess. I probably shouldn't have done that. Fuck. Well, that's not good. Crap. Crap. Well, this is not going very better as I thought it would. That's what it just was. So let's go back here. So what I'll do is quickly go the right way. And the other ways. Did it come from the boat? They didn't talk about the boat or how he got here and stuff.
Hello everyone, I'm Dan Pinchbeck, I'm the creative director of the Chinese Room, and this is the Dear Esther Developers Commentary.
Hi, I'm Rob Briscoe. I'm the artist on Dear Esther.
And I'm Jessica Curry, and I was the composer on the game.
There's no chalk line.
So what you're looking at today is a remake of a mod. DRS started off in 2007 as a Half-Life 2 mod, but did really, really well in the modding community, which was fantastic, and as a result of that attracted the attention of Rob, who worked as the primary developer on a Source remake of the game that was released in 2012. And this year is another remake where it's been updated for a cross-platform release, and we wanted to add in this developer's commentary just to give you a bit more of an insight into some of the ideas behind the game as it came together.
I think they had to remake again because if they just did it as a mod, I think they would have gotten sued maybe by Valve. I think I did that one already. I went up that way. I did that one. So let's go this way. Again, guys, I think available. Listen to this. How do you have a fucking run button? Like really, like I know you're trying to do something different, but this is a long ass game. Oh, that's weird. I kinda don't remember that. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I don't know. It's been months since I played the game.
This symbol on the beach, which is the golden ratio, it's one of the only things that's really left explicitly from the mod. In the original mod, there was an awful lot of more kind of symbols and kind of a much more kind of mystical, sort of magical element to the island. There was a lot of very weird stuff in there, and a lot of them came out of the commercial version because they felt like they were a little bit explicit. And instead, there's a lot more hidden kind of codes and symbols in there. There's still some stuff which you can only actually see or experience if you are not playing the game, if you're looking at it from editor. We had in the original mods things like trees planted to mirror the shape of the M5, or there's a whole bunch of things that are there to represent star clusters and all kinds of things like that. And we'll probably talk a bit more about kind of like hidden details and the secrets in the game as we go through. But that was really interesting for us in terms of the design of it, of doing. You've got your conscious, explicit play experience, but games are always constantly manipulating your mood and your feelings and the decisions you're making. And so really trying to create a space that had all of these kind of subliminals in it was a really interesting thing that we wanted to do, both with the original, and then I think it got lifted up into a much more sophisticated version when we went to the commercial, because Rob was able to bring that sort of level of artistry to the visuals that really got that kind of sense of hidden meaning in there. And that was really important, given how kind of complex and symbol heavy and poetic the story is, where a lot of it doesn't actually make any sense, but it's about kind of leaving you with these, I guess, like the half-life of ideas and thoughts that you can't quite shake, that stay with you. So we really were trying to get that blend of how music, story and visuals could all create that really sort of uncanny structure that you wouldn't necessarily be able to define properly, but you knew it kind of had a meaning that was staying with you.
So I don't know who this Rob guy is. But there's supposed to be two. Last time I was over there, I saw two of those things, but now I only saw one. So that was kind of weird. We talked about Rob a little bit, that he did maybe a movie or something, but I don't think I ever seen the movie, so I'm not sure if this guy is really famous or something, or if he did one
So
thing.
something I wanted to do as an artist was create some kind of reward for the player when they explore the island. There are some areas of the game where it's a little bit more quieter, there's no music or there's no voiceovers. So I kind of wanted to create a bit of an incentive for people to explore. And you'll find around the island that these kind of like random scattered items that are usually slightly out of place from the environment themselves, but in another aspect they actually bring a little bit of story to the island itself, usually to the island or to the actual protagonists or you know, the characters that surround it. So you'll find it around the island, these little props and stuff. Just keep your eye out for it if you're exploring.
Kind of why I played it, just to see all the little hidden things and stuff. Does they not mention anything? Like that info they talk about and the mirror trees and shit like that. It's like, I want to do that now. Like, let me see that. Or they should have like take over the game controller and like do it and stuff. That have much older games still that they actually.
People have asked why the Dear Esther's set on a Hebridean island. What's really interesting about this is one of those times when your kind of aspirations as an artist and the practical realities kind of dovetail. We knew that we had to have some way of limiting the player from disappearing off the play space, and when we made the original, it was a mod, and because it was a Half-Life 2 mod, you kind of had Eastern European city, spaceship, or blasted, desolate landscape. You had three options if you didn't want to start making any other assets. So we started off with these practical constraints. We don't want to set it on a spaceship, we don't want to set it in an Eastern European city, so it's got to be on this kind of like this desolate landscape. And we want to limit the player, so an island seems like a natural choice. And it's really interesting how you start from that, and we had this big lump of clay on a table that we were carving out paths and things through.
Islands are so kind of like the environment is kind of hostile. You're out there in the Hebrides. You've got this kind of like inclement weather. You've got cold, rain, snow. It's a very kind of it can be a very depressing place to be at times, but it's also at the same time very beautiful, and it's this kind of like stark, bare landscape, but has this beautiful surroundings. So it's, in terms of art, I think it really helped me to portray a lot of the themes in Dear Esther.
And there was a natural fit with the music as well. It suggested a musical style, which was really key, I think.
Okay, thank you for the input, dude. Have you ever been inside of a tank? Oh, your girl, she is. So let's go in the cave, I guess, because maybe the cave is not the right way, I don't know. Oh, there's a boat. So I think that's the boat his dad. I guess the boat his dad came in with or something. I'm not really sure.
I think the central question to the entire experience, for most people that have played it or are talking about it, is this idea of, is the island real? Is what's going on a literal event of a man walking across a Scottish island, or is it a dream that he's had? Does the island even exist? And one of the things that we try to do with the writing is to constantly lull the player into a position where they got an understanding, they made a decision about what they thought was going on, and then to undercut it. So you never actually were able to settle on any one interpretation. And that was the challenge I set myself when I wrote the original mod, was can we put a story in a game that not only lends itself to multiple interpretations, but there is no stable interpretation. Every single interpretation you have will always have questions, and you'll never be able to fully trust what you think you understand about the game. So it's challenging, I think, for that result. And it becomes quite a challenging kind of game story because of that, because you don't ever get that situation to go, I understand it now, I can walk away from this thing and it's all closed off and it's tidy. It was a very deliberate attempt to say, no matter where you think you are with this story, you're always questioning whether or not that's right.
Sucks, so they didn't add anything in there. Would have been nice, but oh well. That's their decision. They did not do anything in there. I guess that's their decision not to put it in there. Okay, so this one might be close to 60 minutes long. Depends how long these next few ones are. And there's only like 2 left. I think I skipped. It was this one and the one over there. I think that might be the last 2. And then I will try to go load up the next location. And then this will be episode 1 of Dear Esther.
One of the things that's been most commented on with the audio and the music in Dear Esther is how sparse it is. And that was a really deliberate tactic. I wanted to leave room for the player to think and to dream and to wonder and to put their own interpretation into what was happening. And I think the problem with so much modern media is how bombarded we are constantly. It's the kind of MTV, flash in your face, constant music. And Dan and I watch a lot of drama together, and that really is constant
Endless,
music.
which is constantly telling you what you should feel, like really clearly, and it's like being kind of beaten up by the music sometimes.
Well, it just, America is just very weirdly, really like that. It's just very weird. They do it too much. America just needs to like calm everything down. Stop making every like theme of a show like some kind of like heavy metal theme or like crazy rock and roll theme or something. And what I mean by that is like the best place I can relate to anything about this is watch or listen to Hell's Kitchen's theme, and then sorry, not Hell's Kitchen. I guess listen to it. It's still a good one to listen to, but I don't know if there's a UK version of Hell's Kitchen. There might be. I don't know, but which one was it? Hell's Kitchen's no, not Hell's Kitchen. You stop saying that. Hell's Gordon Ramsay's like was it? I think it's like Horrible Hotels or something. Hell. Is it like Hell? Oh, Hotel Hell. That's it. Listen to Hotel Hell theme. No, that's not it. Cause I don't think. Is there? Now I'm trying to think. Is there a Hotel Hell of? Now I'm just confusing myself. I'm trying to remember which one had. Maybe it is Hotel Hell. Fuck, now I'm confusing myself. No one's gonna understand what the hell I'm talking about now, because now I'm all flustered and I can't think of the right show. Maybe it is Hell's Kitchen. Or Hell's Restaurants. He has so many shows, I can't remember which one it is. But it's the ones that he goes to restaurants. And like, he goes to the chef, like... And like... He's trying to save the restaurants and stuff to see why it's doing so bad is whatever that one's called. There's American one and there's a UK one. Is it Hell's Kitchen? Or is I'm trying to remember what Hell's Kitchen is. Hell's Kitchen is the one that's it's like a group of people is like don't know what they're doing and there's like red team versus blue team or something. I think that's Hell's Kitchen and that's not the one I'm thinking of. It's like Hell's Restaurant? Gordon Ramsay Restaurant Help or something? Wow, this is really like fuck. This is just a giant shit show now. I just fucked up everything. So there's like so pretty much the American one is like all crazy, it's loud and annoying. It's like some kind of rock and roll guitar type theme, and then the UK one is like very like elegant and very like peaceful and like more like of a musical one or something like a classic musical like theme and stuff. And like I think American shows just do that too much, and I think they need to like dumb it down and be more eloquent and like more take it softly and stuff. Don't be so like rock and roll and heavy metal and like rap and all this stuff, and just take it more like classicalness and like not being so loud and stuff. They take it too much, and that's why I stopped watching American TV about like almost 10 years ago. I watched something sometimes like reruns of shows, but not much of anything really. That's why I like Hell's Kitchen of like the UK one, because it's more actually helping them out and stuff, and then the American one is just telling people, you know, to fuck off and fire him and fire her, fire him, fire the chef, fire the owner, close it down and all this bullshit. And then the UK one, he's like actually helping the restaurant or the hotel ones, and like he's helping the owners more, and he's giving them more tips and showing the cooks how to be more cooks and be careful as cooks, and like telling them like you should, you know, actually like, if you need help, go to a place to get help and stuff, instead of just telling them to just fire them and stuff. And they know, like, it feels like also he more comfortable with the UK people than the American chefs. He's like more passionate about it and stuff, and everything's more like peaceful and stuff. And like watching scenes of him like helping the chef out and stuff, and seeing how they cook, and they show him how he cooks and stuff, and I don't know, just more just calmer and stuff in the shows instead of the American ones that's all crazy and stuff. And I think that's kind of what their I don't like even I'm saying this like, Dear Esther is trying to say how what Americans should be more calming and stuff. It's pretty much I think that's what they're trying to say and stuff. So let's finally go back to it, since I try my best to say what I'm trying to say, because I don't say a lot of different words like calmly and like passionate and all these other words and stuff. So it's really hard to say these things where I don't say them a whole lot in my life.
When you read a lot of reviews of Dear Esther, a lot of people say they had this time to think and to interpret, and that was one of their favourite things, that they placed themselves so directly into the game, and it's their experience. And I think that's actually the greatest success of the game on all points, from the story to Rob's art to the music, is we all left space for the player to dream.
Oh, that was it. That was actually the end of it. I thought there'd be a lot more. Oops.
So there's a lot of places in the game where you see a lot of strange things, and this is very deliberate.
Oh, there's the books.
One of the things we wanted to do is just kind of like not
That was
spoon
like a
feed the
crouch
player
button.
every little piece of story. We kind of just, some things are literally just in there to just kind of let you think and let you decide on whatever you want to bring to the story yourself. So there's, it's kind of like I approached it like an impressionist painting where you've got like this kind of very vague outline of things, but if you stare at it enough, you can kind of like fill in the spaces, and kind of the image comes together on its own. So a lot of these kind of strange pieces of geography and stuff, that's really kind of deliberate in some ways, just to kind of keep the player's mind open and kind of bring their own interpretations of the story through that.
Okay, that was... Okay, let's go over here for the checkpoints and stuff, and then next time I'm decided to do this, I will do episode 2 of Dear Esther commentary stuff. So not bad, a lot of it, not much of what they haven't talked about yet, so hopefully they will talk about it at some point. Really do wish they added a sprint in this. It would have been nice. So let's actually go back to the main menu. I don't know if I talked about it. I think I mentioned it, but I've kind of left out of it. So what Borderlands, God, not Borderlands, Half-Life and Game Newell did was they actually put numbers to say like, oh, this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3. So you know, if you went to number 4, of how seeing number 3, that means you went too far and you gotta turn back around to find number 3 and stuff, and it shows you like, you know, there's like 50 or something. It shows like you found 49 out of 50 or something for you trying to find the one you're trying to miss and stuff. You know you found all of them, but since this is much, like I said, linear path, smaller path, straight path and stuff like that, that you kind of see, you kind of find all of them, but at the same time, there's like some paths, there's like 2 or 3 ways to go, and you don't know which one is the right path, and you go too far, then like a loading string happens, and then you can't go backwards. You know, go and look and stuff, because there's probably things I missed in the game that I didn't see, because when you get in the cave part, there's like, up, you can go up, you can go down, you can go left, you can go right, there's like a bunch of paths and stuff, so I imagine, as I go through the game and try to listen to everything, I imagine I would miss something, because there's just so many paths to go through, and I don't really remember which way is the main path, and I don't really know what's the side path. So that's about it for this one. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you guys can hear the audio or not in the very beginning, because my TV was muted. I'm not sure if that would mute the first 15 or 20 minutes for you guys. I don't know. I guess I can just watch it myself and see if it's works or not. But yeah, but there's probably going to be not many more videos. They're about hour long. There's probably, there's like 4 parts. Yeah, there's 4 parts, and each one I can probably do in about an hour, probably. This one's probably much longer. That might be 2 parts. I'm not sure, but I think each of these probably 1 part each. So possibly 3 more videos left to it, probably. And this is just something different to do, since this is much different than Vinegar Survive and stuff. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back for 2 at some point, and hopefully I'll get some kind of copyright claims on this with them, because I don't know how this game is going to react with being posted. Some of the stuff is being careful and stuff, but hopefully I don't have any problems with that, because that would suck, because I think this is the first time I'll be posting commentary stuff. I don't think I did it with Half-Life, and I don't think I did it with Gone Home, I think it was. Gone Home or Sweet Home or one of those things. I don't remember which one's which. I think it's Gone Home. I listened to everything, but I don't remember if I recorded it and I posted it. I'm not sure. So hopefully nothing happens to it. So yeah, thanks for watching again, and I will continue this at some point again. Yeah, that's about it. Not a very smooth way to end it something, but yeah, sorry. Just don't watch the last 4 minutes or so, because it's just me trying to figure out how to end it and stuff. It's not very good when I don't say, because there's nothing really you guys can really comments and questions really in this one. So all I can really say is like, thanks for watching, I guess. Or at least thanks for watching the whole thing. I tried my best doing this, and it's not very perfect, but I try sometimes with this stuff. I'm not, I'm not some guy who has a lot of equipment. I just use a pair of headphones and my Xbox One.